So, if you've been following video games for the past year or so, then you will have inevitably heard of a consultancy company that goes by the name of Sweet Baby Inc. It was founded in 2018 by Kim Belair and David Bedard in an attempt to promote the advancement of women and marginalized groups in the video game industry, and by that, what they really mean is gender swapping and race swapping characters into every single token minority out there that you can think of. And while I myself don't have a problem with diversity, it's when you barge into established IPs, bold as brass, like you own them, and start making countless unnecessary changes to them. One thing that I can't stand video games doing nowadays is making you choose your pronouns. Anyways, like I said, Sweet Baby Inc. is a consultancy company that was hired by numerous studios, such as Valve, Square Enix, Remedy, Wizards of the Coast, and several others that I've forgotten about. Anyways, Kim Belair got up on stage and threw out a sob story of how she and the other Sweet Baby Inc. employees have been getting harassed and other sorts of stuff, and while I myself do not condone harassment, I will say that Sweet Baby Inc. and other such consultancy firms bring it on themselves for injecting all this unneeded DEI bull butter into places it doesn't belong, namely entertainment. Anyways, I'm not going to go over the whole video because I don't want to get another copyright strike on my channel, and I really just want to focus on the bits of the video that matter. So, let's just get into it.
Hello, I'm Kim Belair. In my circles, I'm largely considered, I think, a relatively nice person. These are my dogs, Sage and Flaky. These are my cats, Tag and the Gray Boy. I really enjoy Lego. I collect skulls and taxidermy, and I also really like playing a lot of video games, including Elden Ring. By day, I am the crazed CEO of Sweet Baby Inc., the DEI-obsessed censorship mafia who is currently ruining and wokeifying all of the video games that you've ever played. Thank you. Thank you, it's hard work.
Okay, so a couple of things about that clip. First of all, what did your hobbies, apart from playing Elden Ring, have to do with your little spiel here? Secondly, does anyone else find that applause just the slightest bit weird? I certainly do, because if these people knew what they were truly preaching about, then something tells me that they wouldn't be applauding. Or at least most of them wouldn't anyway. I also find it suspicious that they don't show the audience, like, clapping and cheering in the video at all. But we all know that it's the same group of people who don't care about the final product, the people with the unnatural hair colors. The only thing they concern themselves with is pushing the message. I honestly wonder how many of them know that DEI and ESG are the things that are ruining products. Seriously, if they knew that every project that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on has flopped, then why wouldn't this crowd boo and jeer? If they knew Sweet Baby Inc. the way I do, I seriously doubt that a single one of them would cheer.
If you haven't heard of Sweet Baby Inc., thank you. That's actually how I prefer it.
Question, Kim. Your consultancy company, Sweet Baby Inc., that is your job, is it not? Isn't that how you pay your bills? If so, then wouldn't you want your company to be known so you could get hired to pay your bills? Now, I've heard from Rev Says Des and I think at least one other YouTuber saying that Kim basically just confirmed a theory that she didn't want her company discovered or whatever, which is really odd considering that Sweet Baby Inc. approached Game Science, the company behind the hit game Black Myth Wukong, and basically gave them the ultimatum of, pay us $7 million to fix, air quotes, your game, or we will make your lives a living hell. That sounds to me like either they did want to be discovered, Or you suddenly developed Duke Nukem levels of steel balls and just walked up to the Game Science offices, bold as brass, and made the offer. Air quotes. Now, some of you are going to be typing away in the comments and leave one that goes along the lines of, "But Jestan, that was just a rumor." And to be fair, you are correct. That is but a rumor.
Counter-argument.
After the rumor that Sweet Baby Inc. had approached Game Science to make the deal, notice how all the conspiracy theories started popping up, such as misogyny in the workplace. Never mind that the female employees at Game Science never made a peep about it, and other such half-baked nonsense. All because Game Science didn't let Sweet Baby Inc. ruin their game. Basically, that confirms to me that these people just want to push an agenda, not have a fun product to play to relieve stress and for entertainment. Oh, but isn't it hilarious how, because Game Science told Sweet Baby Inc. to sling their hook, it got a big reward out of it? That is to say, numerous people buying it. Whereas all of these other companies that did take Sweet Baby Inc.'s offer have all flopped? Funny how that works, isn't it? Anyways, sorry about that. Just something that I thought would be worth mentioning.
But if you have, it's either because of the over 80 amazing and often award-winning games that we've worked on, or actually one of those, Usual June, was at this very conference. So yeah, you've either heard us from all of these wonderful games, or perhaps you're familiar with the nearly year-long hate campaign that has been waged against us as a team.
I hate to be the one to break this to you, Kim, but that so-called hate campaign was brought down upon you and your company because of you injecting video games with the DEI nonsense and ESG nonsense and a bunch of other half-baked nonsense. Oh, and it gets even worse for her, as you'll see later in the video. Anyway, sorry to interrupt your bit there, Kim, but I just wanted to clear some things up. But as for what she gets hate for, let's see. In addition to the DEI nonsense, as I mentioned earlier, one of her company's employees, Chris Kindred, who is now an ex-employee of Sweet Baby Inc., contacted Smash JT's former job to try and get him into trouble. He said publicly that he wanted to burn the game industry to the ground, his exact words, by the way. Tried to get Cabrutus' Steam-curated list, Sweet Baby Inc. detected removed, and as if that wasn't bad enough, also tried to get Cabrutus' Steam account banned, and according to Cabrutus, video games in Brazil ain't cheap. Apparently, Kim learned the hard way that Chris Kindred wasn't doing Sweet Baby Inc.'s reputation any favors, so they got rid of him. But too little, too late. The damage had already been done. Was it worth it, Kim?
Unfortunately, today I'm here to talk about that in a talk I'm going to call What Happens When You Get Harassed? A Sweet Baby Story. So I'm going to start at the beginning. Who is Sweet Baby Inc.? We are a narrative development company, and we are a team of narrative developers. What that means is that we do script writing, storytelling, narrative work for video games, and sometimes that means that we come in for writing punch-ups. Sometimes that means we're the entire writer's room for a project. Sometimes that means we're coming in very, very early on and helping them start the groundwork, the world building. But what I want to really stress is that all of our work focuses very heavily and very seriously on story. That is what narrative development is.
Sometimes that means we're the entire writer's room for a project.
I want each and every single one of you to absorb what Kim just said there. Sweet Baby Inc. being the entire writing staff for a project is a very frightening thing to think about, isn't it? Also, no, Kim, your company is that of consultancy. All your job is to go in and see if a video game lines up with the current views in society, and act surprised, but nobody asked for this. Nobody wants it except for a few people who are literally insane. Who exactly are these projects designed for? The people you're pandering to with the DEI nonsense have no interest in playing these games in the first place. And when you pander to a group of people that have no interest in what you're injecting this sort of bull butter into to get them into that, you're not necessarily going to make it more appealing to them. And by trying to pander to them, you're in turn ignoring all the established fans of that property, and now they no longer feel welcome, so they don't buy any more of the product. Case in point for all of this, at some schools and colleges here in the USA and maybe the larger English-speaking parts of the world, some of these places of education have female-exclusive clubs and courses in STEM so that more women will choose to take a career in STEM-related fields. Not too many women have shown up to them as I understand it, and I won't say that no women at all turned up to them, but most didn't. Just because you exclude a group of people from something or try to make it more welcoming to them doesn't mean that the group you're trying to pander to is going to go out and take part in it or buy it or whatever. How many times must we repeat this lesson exactly before these DEI crowds finally get this most basic of lessons through their thick skull?
We started out in 2018, but it was really in 2020 that we kind of came to any kind of industry prominence. And it was on a backdrop of the COVID quarantine sending everybody home from the office. Me Too sweeping through the games industry as various bad actors were named and shamed, appropriately, I should say. And also the Black Lives Matter protests were in full swing. At the time, the industry was kind of responding in the way you might imagine, with a lot of corporate overpromising, but within the writing sphere, there were a lot of offers for portfolio reviews. Like, hey, if you're a marginalized or especially a black dev, we would love to give you a portfolio review. And I want to say I love portfolio reviews. It's something that we also do at Sweet Baby for free. So if anybody in the audience right now is looking for a little bit of a portfolio review or want to talk about video games, we'd love to do that. But the problem with portfolio reviews is that they also assume that it's a meritocracy, right? They assume the problem is your portfolio and not the fact that maybe there's a lot of other reasons that you are not getting the gig. So,
once again, Kim, I hate to be the one to have to break this to you, but literally every job out there is a meritocracy. Why would you not hire someone based on their merits? What does someone's gender or skin color matter in regards to a job? Why would you choose someone over how they were born and not on whether they're qualified for the job? Again, I'm not opposed to diversity, but when you start hiring people for a job that they aren't qualified to be in, then naturally, your company is going to suffer as a consequence. I can't believe that I have to spell this out to grown-ass adults who have real jobs, but that's the world we live in nowadays, isn't it?
Knowing that there were a myriad problems to be solved, we created an email called talk@Sweet Baby Inc., and we just said, hey, if you're a developer who wants to get into the industry, if you're someone who's already in the industry and you want to talk, just talk to us. And so in that year, we ended up with a lot of people who we connected to, and we talked a lot about advocacy, we talked a lot about helping people get into the industry, and we also talked a lot about the importance of telling stories from a variety of perspectives, and especially of having those writers and those creators in the room to help you with that. And as we joined new conversations, as we worked on more projects, more people joined our team. And so in that year, or in those subsequent years, we grew from a team of only 5 to a team of 16 incredibly talented people. And during that time, as you might imagine, a lot of game teams were looking for guidance, both in terms of narrative, but also in terms of learning how to tell diverse stories and feature diverse characters. And so naturally, because we were kind of in that conversation, we helped them. Throughout the years, again, we worked on, as I said, a ton of games.
Sorry for letting that clip run on as long as I did, folks, but I had to because this is the bit that I was referring to earlier. Remember when I said that Sweet Baby Inc. was responsible for the hate campaign against them? Well, have you noticed that rather than telling diverse tales through diverse casts of characters, all they really do is take white male characters and either change the sex to that of a woman or they will change the white man's race to black or Asian or Hispanic. Do you have any idea, Kim, of just how offensive that is? It's offensive to literally everyone. It's offensive to white people because you're taking away an established characters to give to the marginalized communities, and to those marginalized communities who are receiving that character, what you're basically giving them is sloppy seconds, and in doing so, you're basically telling women in the marginalized communities that they can't have any sort of an interesting character unless it's based on a white male character. And to my female audience, to my black audience, my Hispanic audience, and to my Asian audience, I would like to hear your opinion on this. Do you feel that gender swapping and race swapping characters is an okay thing to do? Do you think changing a white man into a woman or a person of color is disrespectful to everyone involved, or do you care, or do you enjoy it? Now, I'm not going to judge you because we all have opinions on things like this, but more than anything, I'm very interested to hear what you all have to say about it.
And if I'm being honest, just as a creative myself, that's all I've really ever wanted. I've never wanted to be known by audiences, really. I have never wanted to be known by gamers, certainly. And I've wanted to be... I have wanted to be known by game devs, and writers especially. I want teams and studios and writers and creatives to think of us when they need a hand, when they want that more support. I want to be a game dev's game dev, and that's where I hoped it would be, but that is not what happened.
Oh, considering how many big-name game companies have hired you, one of them being Wizards of the Coast, one of the most woke companies out there, I would say that you are very well known by game developers, Kim. Trust me, you have taken down your clients page, but guess what? It's still out there. It has been cataloged for all the world to see. You thought you could delete that client list from the internet, but once something gets put out onto the internet, it's out there for good, and good luck trying to get rid of it, or at least hiding the evidence that it ever existed.
Because in October of 2023, we had about 70 games under our belt at the time, but two of them, two very, very big ones, were about to drop within a week of each other. So on October 23rd, there was Spider-Man 2, and then on October 27th, there was Alan Wake 2, both big AAA games, and we had worked on narrative and character for both of them with literally years of work on Spider-Man 2, and we would finally get to announce them. We were very excited. In retrospect, we were actually comically excited because we had a couple thousand followers at the time, mostly game devs, and we were like, okay, it's time to stand up and be proud of our work. Wow, this is gonna be really nice. And I remember even thinking that morning as we made these posts, I wonder if anyone's gonna notice that we posted about Spider-Man, we're also posting about Alan Wake. Will anyone put it together? Because I think our way of working at Sweet Baby, the kind of teamwork that we do on so many different games, is really, really unique. I think it's really cool. I think people will be excited about it and about our craft. So I decided to do a cheeky Google and see, hey, can anyone put that together? The Google went bad. I shouldn't have done it because rather than any praise or people going, wow, how did you do it? Or just, hey, a narrative development company, what does that mean? I'm really interested. We were instead found by kind of 4chan and the worst people on Twitter.
So, Kim, just to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, you decided to do a Google search on your company thinking that there was going to be praise. You sound like you were expecting praise, yet you instead find that most people hate you and your company by looking at 4chan and Twitter, or X as it's now known. Kim, that sounds like some narcissism right there, honey. As I said earlier, injecting DEI nonsense, and half-baked DEI nonsense at that, into video games where it doesn't belong is always going to end badly. Trust me, Kim, I've seen stuff said about your company that would make you turn off your computer, go lie face down in your bed, and cry into your pillow. You would just cry yourself to sleep, and that's putting it mildly. Welcome to the internet, Kim. The place where you are guaranteed to get crapped on left, right, and center, regardless of whether you deserve it or not. It's going to happen eventually, so you better get used to it. What makes it all the funnier is that after what Sweet Baby Inc. did to Cabrutus, or at least Chris Kindred did while he was working at Sweet Baby Inc., does the entirety of Sweet Baby Inc. deserve that hate, or only Chris Kindred? I'll let you be the judge of that.
And looking back, there is a funny element to it where I go like, people were kind of talking like, I've discovered a secret Canadian company. Like, these are the guys who did it. And the discovery that they had made was actually like our public-facing website that we advertise our services on, and which you can go to right now if you'd like to collaborate with us or just learn more. It's not hidden, and if it is, it's very bad because it's at sweetbabyinc.com. But literally within a few hours of me seeing that first post, we were not only being accused of, forcing a black person into Alan Wake, which one is cool, but we didn't do, and also of putting pride flags into Spider-Man's New York, which, again, so good, love to see them, but we were not responsible for them. But
now, this could just be my autistic brain overthinking this, but you think forcing, that is to say, race swapping a character into a black person in a video game is cool, and you also think that plastering pride flags all over New York in Spider-Man 2 is cool, yet neither of those were your decision, Kim? Sweet Baby Inc. didn't barge in and demand that they be in there. I don't believe you. It just seems odd that you think it's cool that all that bull butter is in these games, yet you didn't demand that they be in there, and at least in the case of the pride flags in Spider-Man 2, they shouldn't be in there because, as I said, and others have said in all of our responses to Jim Sterling's Hogwarts Legacy video, Pride Month and Pride flags don't mean anything more than a marketing scheme. Well, the Pride Month now. They're just plastered around places so that the LGBT community will spend more money at these places. That's all. And look, I mean no disrespect to the LGBT community, but to all of you, I have to ask, what are your opinions on all those pride flags in video games nowadays? I ask this because I would prefer to hear y'all's opinions on this debacle. I have one gay friend through YouTube who says that he doesn't like the pride flag, but I'd also like to hear it from the larger LGBT community, their opinions on it, that is.
Suddenly, we were being told that we were, funded by BlackRock, and that actually we weren't a narrative development company, we were a DEI company, some kind of vaguely defined censor, and that we were here to use all of the power we had amassed to force companies to go woke.
Kim, did you fall out of a stupid tree and hit every single branch on the way down? I know that the DEI groups aren't that smart, but come on now. For those of you who don't know, DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and what they really mean by that is the SJW political beliefs. Instead of going with the already well-defined male and female, they instead go with body type 1 and 2, or body type A and B. They have to censor things, and well, most of you already know, because if you're watching this video, there are numerous videos on YouTube that shows all the games that are getting censored. In fact, let's go with the relabeling of male and female to body type A and B. And the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, they're doing that bull butter of changing male and female into look A for the male hero and look B for the female hero. That's literally all they changed in regards to the sexes for the most part. But if that's all they're doing is changing what males and females are called, then yes, it is censorship. That's all there is to it. They're also censoring females across video games, and not just in the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, but in all forms of entertainment. They make the women look like men with just very slight feminine features, and as I understand it, They're doing this to avoid offending transgender people. Also, notice that they only do that to female characters in video games and not male characters. I especially love how Yuji Horii himself said, "I really wonder who is complaining about the terms male and female," and on that point, I must agree with him. Turns out, American companies are forcing him and the other Japanese game developers to do it because we Americans are so entitled, it isn't even funny. And I say that as an entitled American myself.
And obviously that's a very baffling understanding of what work for hire is. I'm not sure how they imagine we did it or how the contracts would be drawn up for it, but it kind of didn't matter because it just kept evolving and spinning out of control, and suddenly the conspiracy was just alive. They were finding photos of us, sometimes our families or our contractors. They were doxing me and other members of the team. Anyone calling these attacks out as doxing was accused of doxing themselves or lashing out. That's me. I'm the CEO. I have issues. But yeah, this went on for weeks and then months. At its peak, which was somewhere around February, March of this year, we were getting something like 300 emails a day, which admittedly some of those are going to be spam or bots or whatever it is, but they were often accompanied by death threats, threats to our family. We did have one bomb threat made to the police that they contacted us about, and at best, the nicest thing you would see in some of these spaces was that we were a punchline. But any defenders were really, really shouted down quite quickly. And in moments when this movement couldn't dig up another reason to attack us, they would just kind of move on to other groups who they perceived to be like us. All while doing the work of erasing all of those people's and our actual jobs and interest and papering over it with kind of that rallying cry of far-right supremacy.
Far-right supremacy? No, you idiot! No! We just don't want your political views and entertainment. As Jim Sterling said in that one video, get the f*** out of here with that blatant bullshit.
DEI. And as ridiculous and stupid as it all was, I actually was not prepared for the escalation of it when noted buffoon and Twitter CEO Elon Musk decided that he would chime in with his very cool thoughts. Yeah, some very cool, very good thoughts in there. Lots to think about. So this was hard the whole time. Not since the beginning, it wasn't great. But we were receiving countless emails, all this constant hate. It was targeted enough to feel disconcerting, even when it was kind of silly, and it was also kind of drowning out the support. But when Elon chimed in, it really made me realize the scale of it, because the richest man in the world was suddenly turning like the Eye of Sauron onto 16 people trying to make a pretty modest living in the industry that they love, and he was arguing for our collapse. And this meant that, it was when this happened and when it got bigger than this, you can tell I got it early as a screenshot, but yeah, it made us realize that this was huge. We were being attacked in a massive and coordinated campaign of harassment, and that sucks. But it does get me closer to the question of what happens when you get harassed.
Ah, yes. What happens when you get harassed? That's a good question, Kim. Well, when you get harassed, that's usually because, and this is specifically because Sweet Baby Inc. tried to get Kabrutus' Steam account deleted, which would amount to theft, in my opinion, and it also tried to shut down his Steam-curated page called Sweet Baby Inc. Detected to try and inform people of which games had your disgusting fingers in. Yet that was enough to try to get you to get Valve to remove Kabrutus' Steam account and his Steam-curated list. And after having done that, are you actually surprised that you're getting all this hate? I don't know how much games cost over in Brazil, but according to what Kabrutus said, they ain't cheap. Also, apologies for sounding like a broken record, folks, but that's the one thing that Sweet Baby Inc. did that stands out in my mind, apart from them destroying countless games with needless DEI injection. With that, however, I think we're going to end the video here, because I actually have other stuff to do, believe it or not, and listening to Kim Belair whine her little pity party out, I think we're done here. Anyways, for those of you in the LGBT community who are a part of my audience, to my female audience, to the people of color who make up my audience, I would like to hear your opinions on the things that I asked about earlier in the video. Do you agree with the gender swapping and race swapping of white characters to, female characters, black or Asian or Hispanic, the pride flags being plastered all throughout the video games, things like that. And with that, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'll see you in the next one.